There can be 1,000 things that separates the best junglers from your average jungler, from the good junglers from the bad junglers. However, there's one overarching principle that determines whether you are Canyon or you're going to be Canyoned. And really it comes down to this concept of jungle spacing. And as you will note, we have shifted into a more coaching environment because try as I might, I could not do this video with, high-tech effects as you usually expect and some 3D mapping and arrows, because I need to explain to you for every single MMR what makes you good and what makes you not so good. So both junglers here, this is your baseline example, are gonna full clear and then go ahead and have a look for something in the mid lane. Let's play it in real time. The Viego shows up and says, well, I'll kill the Ziggs, and the Talon shows up and says, well, I'll kill the Akali. Both junglers go, all right, and they carry on about their way. And as you will see, we have now jumped into a completely separate example immediately because I want to showcase to you when you have a baseline, which is I full cleared and I full cleared, and then we meet mid lane, okay, handshake. That's when mind games begin. Have you wondered why if you start down here or you start up here, then you see a Talon or Nidalee or whatever go and do a late invade and steal your stuff without you knowing? That's because they know you're gonna full clear, right? They know that you have a baseline. And the entire concept of jungle is twofold. You are either trying to avoid the enemy jungle and create a lot of space between you, or you're trying to get in the enemy jungler's face and really get into their face. Now that's a matchup dependent thing. So you might think, okay, Talon's gonna look to invade the Briar on this side, right? Briar's gonna definitely do that. Well, watch the Talon here. We hit the plant, we go nice up and down. We're gonna do a full clear. That's really, really simple. Let's do the wolf camp here. Okay, standard full clear, just like the Viego game. All right, let's go to the grump. Oh, there's a Briar in my bush. And this is immediately now the mind games. Now you think, okay, this is cheese, right? This is cheese to a degree, but this is less invade cheese and more, hey, I know you're going to be full clearing up. I can track you and just cheese you on this bush, I guess, for lack of a better word, but mostly it's I can trap you and kill you. The reason for this happening is because a Talon is most likely going to full clear like everybody else. We've created an environment where I can get into the enemy jungler's face because I want to gap close that because I know I can win it. The Talon now is forced to go back to base, has to accept that there's no prior scenario to do these camps, and instead of going back there and getting back in the Briar's face, is immediately gonna go across the map, okay, take the Scuttle Crab. The Briar says, whoa, gank in the mid lane, I can do that one, and flashes in for another kill. Now the Talon is here, down a level. Yes, he's gone back to base, but it's just a longsword, and even though this will help him, the Briar has backup now from the mid lane, and whoa, that was actually a little bit close. And of course, the Corki rotates over, hopefully an Emax Corki. And what you're seeing now is a specific fight that only occurs because of the Briar's play. How does this affect you, the everyday jungler, in your silver games, in your emerald games? What exactly am I saying that will allow you to carry through this MMR? I'm glad you asked, because you absolutely must head to Virkayu.gg. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching, coaching classes, a jungle VOD library, special weekly content you'll see nowhere else, as well as all of this hosted in a private jungle Discord. And if there is one thing I'm good at, it's making junglers go from low elo to high elo, as seen by the great number of success stories from the end of last season and already the beginning of season 14. So to climb faster than everybody you know and to jungle diff every game you play, head to Virkayu.gg or click the link in the description below. Okay, but no, really, Virkayu, how does this affect me whatsoever? What does this time jungle spacing thing you're talking about mean? Again, let's jump back into reality here. We have a Evelynn full clearing. We have a Lilia full clearing, all right? Starting on opposite sides and going to the opposite side of the map. Now, the Evelynn says, all right, let me try and do something about the Mundo. Unfortunately, the Malphite's got no mana, no CC, so that passive is not going to burn, but we can cut him off here and force a TP. Maybe I full commit with a flash and we might kill him, but hey, good TP, good job. In the meantime, we know Lilia straight up is on the bottom side because, as you just saw, she kills the Draven. The Evelynn decides, and this is important here, hey, I started Raptors, so I know that these are going to spawn at 4 minutes. And we can basically show this right here. These are going to spawn at around 4 minutes, okay? Which means Lilia will know, oh, Evelynn's top side, and the Evelynn, if you look at the mini-map there, has 24 CS, which means the Evelynn did not do the Scuttle Crab. I also don't see the Evelynn cutting across a mini wave to do said Scuttle Crab. Interesting. Now the Lilia says, okay, that's basically free counter jungling for me. And because the Evelynn did Raptors into Krugs into red, we know that around, 417, 420, these Krugs are going to spawn. So from the Lilia's perspective, she can take both, right? Well, it's not an error, there's an error. She can take Raptors and Krugs. Now, if you are a jungler that knows you can straight up get in the face of the Lilia as she goes to do this after she's done Scuttle, because again, she also showed with 24 CS, If you know that you can get in their face like the Briar did to the Talon, then I don't mind you necessarily going for this fight. However, in this particular meta, if you look at the timer now, boom, 4 minutes. There you go. There's a Raptor camp right on the map. Beautiful. Lilia also is most likely to start on Raptors, right? A lot of junglers do. That's why these early wards for mid laners at 121, 122 really give us huge advantages, right? Because we can actually see when they cross, if they didn't start it, or we can see when they did start and when they go down. So you want to be able to see that early on. However, I think it's logical to assume at this particular stage that the Lilia did in fact start Raptors. Now, in the case of a jungler who can't exactly go for this fight, I don't think you have much of a choice. You take the Scuttle Crab, you go into the jungle, you leave a ward. Worst case scenario, right? You know you can go and steal the Krugs as they respawn, but you see the Lilia here. We're going for this now. So the Lilia is taking this fight knowing full well that it's going to happen. And why is she able to gap close? Why is she not afraid as that Evelynn Q goes sideways? Why is she not afraid to take this fight? Why is she not afraid to close the spacing between her and the Evelynn? Because she knows she can win. End of story. She knows she can win. Now, from the Evans perspective, can I win this? No, right? Especially if I don't actually have my charm fully used. I don't have the resources. And honestly, do you really want to take that fight? There was a Yasuo's dashy ignite, excuse me. And now the brand rotates. And you're going to say, Brand, what on earth are you doing, you flaming potato? And you can answer the question in whatever language you like. It won't make sense. Everything you're witnessing here, everything, absolutely everything that's going on right now. The Lilia doing this, the Draven rotating over, no assist, loses time trying to help you. The Shaco shows up and chucks a box out. The Evelynn respawns and goes down to the Draven. Look at this. Sorry, the Shaco. Look at this. Fiesta. Just like Fiesta. What's the difference between that Challenger example with the Briar and the Viego and this one? The junglers were close together on the map, and thus caused rotations from people who are just trying to help but don't know any better. You're the leader of the map. So, what should the Evelynn have done in this particular situation? It's pretty damn simple. Once you gank top lane, come on down, snack the Scuttle Crab up. That is a very see-through thing. Let's make that nice and bright for you. There we go. Do this, all right? And now, because you can presume, if you look at the minimap on the right, that the Lilia is going to steal mine, well, I will go and steal hers, right? Doesn't that sound a little bit juicy for us? We can go ahead and steal hers here. And my perspective on this, my general philosophy is, I'm going to take this for sure at 4 minutes. I know that it's going to spawn, I'm taking it. Then, can I gank mid lane, if it's gankable, and it was actually gankable? That is one horrific arrow, but you get the drift. I'm left-handed and my mouse hand is right-handed, it's just weird. However, my philosophy says, okay, why don't I just go ahead and take the Krugs, right? I will let the Lilia take this and gank this, and I will take this and take this. And now you're saying, but Virkayu, isn't that handshaking just like the first example? Yes, it is. But in this particular case, I want to keep as much spacing as possible away from the Lilia because I can't fight her, don't have the Prior, my brand's low HP, my bottom lane are basically coin flipping reality, and I'm okay counter jungling here. Now what would actually happen is you would take these Raptors, you would end up at the Krugs, you would ward this brush here, you would ward this brush here, and then you would go here and be like, oh, her Krugs haven't spawned yet. What would that tell you? Tick, tick, tick. It would tell you that she did Raptors, red, Krugs as a clear. If she did Raptors, Krugs, red, then once you've done Raptors, the Krugs would respawn. Now, in your particular case, do you think the Lilia is going to full clear, gank bot, take Scuttle, take Raptors, loop back for your Krugs, and then dive bottom lane? I could see it. I could honestly see that. If she doesn't do it, all right, cool. But if she does do it, instead of waiting around for these, I would immediately base and cut her off from that. Take my Krugs back. And now, yeah, I lost my Raptors, but that gives me a lot more opportunity to impact the bottom lane fight here if she does dive, or just to continue sequencing and maybe do something about the top lane. Look at this. Ooh, maybe I could do something here at 518. It's 518. You should be well on your way to level 6. We're halfway to level 5. Experience has not been maximized, and on this patch, the idea of creating space or no space between you and another jungler is specifically to get a lot of experience, more than anyone on the map, and to control things. Now, when you are a high elo jungler, you want to become a good jungler. The principle for this becomes more pronounced when you get cheesed, invaded, and squashed. In this game now, we have a Zac who is more of a not Evelynn, not Viego, not Briar champion, and we have a Kindred. The problem is, the bottom lane here decides to go on an adventure. Now, straight up a message to laners, timestamp this video and send it to them champs are like, Watch the damn entrances, because when they do this invariably, and the Kindred has this quadrant under control and they gank you 14 times on the bottom lane, it's because you wanted to do this. Just 5 point and watch all the entrances as everybody else and ensure that there's no cheese going on. Your jungler can play the game, help you, and protect you. Currently, the Zac has no idea that this is ongoing. And one could argue, all right, maybe we shouldn't do this, especially against the Kindred. Maybe we should just watch entrances. That's why in a lot of the courses I say, guys, just watch an entrance and ward the other side. Try and cover as much ground as you can. But overall, we need to make sure that our teammates are listening. So spread that message. That helps us a lot. However, watch this. They're going to show on the minimap coming out of this angle. See this angle they come from? If you're the Zac, if you're the jungler on the top side and you've warded this, and again, I don't really like this wall because it's really easily avoided by most people who are just going to loop back around. And again, Raptors star champions are going to easily get through here anyway. And I just don't like these kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about how you can read and react at a high level and also create the space between an enemy jungler in the next example. But in this one, you see the Draven come out over this angle. You see the enemy support come out over this angle as well. Dude's got no mana. All you have to do is F can go like, why would he have no mana at this particular stage? He obviously was not cheesing this, so he must have given a little bit of a cheeky leash. All right, interesting. So what we can do here is assume that a leash was given and the Kindred's on the bottom side. Again, it's a big assumption. It's a big assumption. I, as a Zyra, would literally do this and use mana to make you think I did that when I didn't. I've done this. But again, I have a mind of a jungler, so I like to be evil. In this particular case, we're going to do the Gromp. We're going to go ahead and do this, all right? This is where things get really interesting because obviously the Kalista has died. The Kindred is ganking now. You realize what's happened. So obviously if you miss all of the cues or you just aren't sure what's going on, you see this, you're like, oh, well, this sucks. Straight up, this sucks. So do you want to gap close onto the Kindred here and get into the Kindred's face right now? Is this a thing you want to do? Are you the Briar versus Talon where you're like, yes, I like this. Can I gank the mid lane potentially? Or not really, it's a Victor here. Or can I just get in the face of the Kindred and do? No, right? You've got no prior situation whatsoever. It's not a matchup that we like. I'm just going to go ahead and do some counter jungling. Now the Kindred pings on the minimap. Zac is most likely taking my top side. This is fine from the Kindred's perspective because the Kindred likewise wants to create a time gap to the Zac. Why? Because the Kindred's more interested in just snowballing bottom lane. And the fact that Zac's been forced to the top side here means, and fortunately our E range is a little out of range and we don't get this kill. Unlucky, right? But that's fine. We'll deny the mark here. All is well in Narnia. We can accept these things. The Kindred has done really wackadoodle pathing. Let's be honest here. This is a high level of invest into the bottom lane. And again, all avoided if bottom lane just watch entrances and we all ward up and we basically say, okay, Zac, they're stealing your red, go topside directly. Then all things change. Fortunately, this is what we're living with. So the Kindred shows up bottom lane again. Now you can press tab and you'll see 20 CS. We saw the Kindred do red side. So if you need visualization, Kindred showed up bottom lane with 12 CS. We know that's done. Now they show up with 20. So what was taken to get us to this level? At this stage, we see a blue, so we know categorically a blue was taken. However, would it have been a Gromp, a Wolf camp, or would it have been the Scuttle Crab? What's the other camp that was taken here? And there's a very easy way to tell. Very easy way to tell here, because you'll see the Kindred show up down here. There we go, 12 CS. Look at the timer, 249, 250. Kindred very easily is going to go back into their jungle. Let's assume they do the blue buff. Blue buff, blue buff, blue buff. Around the same as a Gromp, let's just say 313, right? 313 if you look at this timer, just as a reference point. There's no way this Kindred did blue and waited for the Scuttle Crab. So 99% I can assume at this stage as the Zac that the Kindred has left that bottom scuttle available. This is where we want to ensure that the concept of jungle spacing is really used well in these kinds of games. And again, the next example will really showcase it to you. The Kindred, you see that there, the second gank. Ints, straight up ints. All right, Kalista's now 2-1-0. You know, we have a bit of a lead. Okay, the Zac is now stuck between a rock and a hard place though. This is where jungle spacing becomes very, very interesting. So let's bring out the pen again, okay? Where in your mind is Kindred going after respawn? If you are tracking at this high level, I would forgive you for maybe thinking that they did Gromp into Wolves, or if they did Blue into Wolves, Blue into Gromp, you know, but I would assume this is available just on the timing that we had, just because they show up with 20 CS. Although I have seen bad junglers do the blue, literally wait for the scuttle. Who knows what we see in these elos nowadays? Think about it though. Most likely there's 2 camps on the bottom side, because if they show up taking this whole quadrant, as you see on the minimap on the bottom right, then there has to be at least 2 out of the 4 camps available, because they only showed up with 8 CS out of the possible 16. 8 out of the possible 16. All right? Whatever, hopefully you can read that. That's the issue here. So there's more camps on the bottom side, and the Kindred would have noticed that you showed up here, right? Also with no red buff on the top side. You showed up with no red buff on the top side, so you were lacking that CS and that buff. That means, because we're worried about the mark going to the Raptor camp, these are the 3 camps that we can have, because the Kindred had marked the bottom lane. So that's important to note here, okay? If you F key around, did the Kindred put a mark on somebody that I can I perceive this? Did they get 1 mark? Because if they got 1 mark from that, categorically, you know that the mark is going to shift in one of these directions. If it was at 0 still, then you know it's going to go to the Scuttle Crab. And you know that's available. So why would you necessarily contest this here? You could just give it up. You don't have to deny the first mark and the second mark that vociferously, that energetically. So what the Zach does is comes to the bottom side, knows that the respawns of the camps are available, so says, all right, let me take this. And now you've got a choice. You literally have a choice to make about your jungle spacing. Do I shadow and go down to the Krugs, because I anticipate that the Kindred's going to go and do wolves into Scuttle into repeat? Do I kite upwards here, path upwards here, to deny the mark that's going to invariably spawn on the Grump? Why don't it's going to spawn on the Grump? Because I see the Kindred get a mark bottom side. I've taken away the Raptor camp. This here is available, but it's 99% now going to be 100% going to be on the Grump, right? I know that that's what's going to happen. So if Kindred goes to the top side, Kindred will get a free Grump because top prio as well. Do I want to deny this? This is where you have to make an educated, I don't want to say guess, but a decision on what your priorities are. If your priorities are, okay, I think the Kindred's going to go for the red and go for the mark, so I will deny it, and then I'm going to path down again, because you're kind of pathing in a way, as the Aatrox roams, you're pathing in a way that denies the Kindred. You need visual confirmation of what the Kindred's doing. Kindred now shows up, all right, on the bottom side of the map here, with an extra 4 CS. You would be forgiven for assuming it was the Scuttle Crab, and in fact, it was the Wolf Camp. We don't know this though. As a Zach, we don't know this here. Now, again, you have to make the decision. Jungle spacing. You look at bottom lane here, you see what's going on, you see the Kindred super duper low. Here's where you need to make another decision. Do I try and collapse and gap close the jungle spacing? Do I get in the face of the Kindred here? Do I try and get in the face of the bottom lane? Do I try and trail what the Kindred is doing? Or do I say, hey, why don't I just cut up and do some counter jungling? Do I try and take some camps away and leave some deep vision? Do I take 1 camp and bounce? Do I try to do the red and the Krugs? Do I, the red and the Raptors? Do I just try to do the Krugs and the red? What can I get away with taking? Now, for my champions, I know I could do a little bit more. If I'm playing Karthus, you can do a little bit more. If you're doing Brand, those kind of champions, you can always take a bit more camps. If I'm playing something like Orange Jungle and champions like this, you have to think a bit more conservatively about how much you can take away. All right? So there's the issue with this game. The Kindred has done coin flip pathing, random pathing, and also hyper-aggressive ganking pathing. Now, instead of doing any sort of counter jungling, we're saying, okay, look, and look at the time you have as well. This is important, right? The time you have as well, just for reference, so you guys can all see this. We see the Kindred dip into the brush. It's 5:37. We're here, okay? You're just gonna go back to base. It's 8 seconds immediately. All right, buys boots, so increases the movement speed, but still 5:37. That's already, there we go, 30 seconds to get to Krugs. 34 seconds to get to Krugs. Because they have to heal as well. You got 34 seconds. What can you do with that in the topside jungle? Do you feel like you actually want to gap close the spacing? Because at this stage, it's logical to assume that Kindred will go topside after basing, right? Because these camps will respawn, red's still available. Do I want to get in the face? Do I want to gap close that spacing? Question mark. Do you feel strong enough to beat the enemy jungler in this environment? Do you have the lanes to support this endeavor? And is that where you want to go? These are just the kind of questions you throw out at this stage. Problem is, because all of this is warded up, and we try and chase down a kill here, we will deny this mark, bless, okay? The Kindred now is on the top side. And I think as you would have gotten from the Evelynn example, my mind is very much on the counter jungling, on the positioning, on the cutting off here. I don't mind gap closing to the jungle now. The jungle spacing, I don't mind minimizing it because I'm not looking to necessarily fight. I'm just looking to take some stuff away, leave some vision, make a counter gank. There's a lot of stuff on the top side here. There's very little for me to do on the bottom side. Again, lot not a lot for us to do on the bottom side here. We got Krugs and a Scuttle Crab, right? Krugs and a Scuttle Crab. This is just a desperate hope. We take this one, we go back to the Krugs, Kindred gets a free gank, if not Kindred's gonna get free grubbies. Now we have to go back to our red. We're pinging it off, Kindred decides not to do the grubs, chases the Z down, W away, loses that advantage, now hits to see what's going on, goes over the pit, and again, this is now from the Kindred's perspective. I'm down a level because I've not been farming. I've gotten kills, but I've not been farming, and I'm compromised. Do I want to close my jungle spacing and fight the Zac, who's a level above, or wherever the enemy jungler is? Or do I want to just take the grubs for free and do something else? The Zac, in turn, kills the Kindred. So back and forth, debating the whole way through, do we want to jungle space, or do we want to jungle no space? In this game, we're going to have the same concept. We choose the same champions a little bit just to see the kind of archetype relationship. But hopefully you can see it's not a singular thing, right? It's not, hey, I always want spacing, or hey, I always want to invade and fight. There's never an extreme like this. It's always a balance of when to do what and when to do the other. Now, in this particular case, we are watching topside again. We don't have real observations on the bottom lane, but we see the Rakan kind of doing a bit of a check here. Okay, thank you so much. Nidalee shows up. All right. This is the game where you change reality. The whole idea here, the whole problem is I'm afraid of being invaded early, right? I'm afraid of being cut off here. Whether she does this and comes at me, or whether she does this and comes at me, I'm not interested. In this particular matchup, I want to create spacing between myself and the Nidalee. Yes, I would love to gank the bottom lane more so than anything else, but at the same time, why do I have to gank them on first rotation? Especially if Nidalee, from our philosophy, is going in the same direction, right? Like, we assume the baseline, she's going to full clear down, I'm going to full clear down. Problem is, Nidalee could also just as easily invade. However, to reference the original baseline example, the Nidalee thinks the same way, but differently. So my perspective in this environment, as a Zyra, as an Ornn, as a Mundo, as these kinds of champions, is, let's just say, weaker champions, even a Sejuani in this particular case, any meta jungler that's a little slower or weaker that doesn't want to fight against a Nidalee, I'm in this environment. I do this blue. 100% I do this blue. I don't like this ward, but in this particular case, you see the Nidalee, and I still put it here. I drag into the bush. I'll have vision if she comes over. I mean, it just gives me a bit more protection against Lilias and Kayns, and who knows what else is going to cheese you, Shacos as well. I take this, and I leave. I do this all the time. This is where the read and react, and this is the final thing. With your jungle spacing, in order to maximize it, you have to be able to read and react. Go down immediately to your red, do your Krugs, look back around the outside, drag your Raptors in, go boom, boom, okay. Go ahead and try and gank top lane if possible. It's a gank that you can have. Take the Scuttle Crab, which will be up. Can I gank mid lane at any particular stage? And in my game planning ideology, I'll see the Nidalee full clear down. She'll do this, she'll do this. But as you saw in the main channel video a few weeks ago, again, we can break up the map here on the mini map. We saw Mobalytics start on these wolves, go up to the Gromp, to the blue, all right? Loop back around, hit the plant, and I'll translate over to the map here and go to the Raptors. The enemy mid laner warded it, and the enemy Lee Sin said, well, let me do this quadrant, cut down through here and invade the red. And what did they have? A 50-50. The Lee Sin was like, I don't want this jungle spacing. I'm going to run at you and smack you and take your red. He had no prio. He died. You guys saw this video. I'll leave it in the description below. From the Zac's perspective, though, Nidalee does not invade me. Cool. Yeah, nice. Great. Wait a second. The Tryndamere dipped and warded, and you see the pings. You see the pings. Everybody dipped and warded. Okay, this is warded now. All right, nothing I can do about that. Nothing you do about that. At all. All right? You are seen. And you see with the Nidalee, she does a buff Grump, or some sort of bastardization. Red, Grump, blue. All the way I'm going over to you. And here it goes. And the Zac does a smart thing, which is I know it's warded, so I'm going to do the Raptors. And then I'm going to look back down. And then I'm going to do the Krugs to make sure I get all my camps under control. I'm okay losing a red, right? Right. Yes. The Nidalee, though, wants to get in the Zac's face. She doesn't want jungle spacing. Trust me, most junglers in this game, we want that against Nidalee. We do not want to be facing her running at our faces. Well, that was badly put, but we don't want her running at our faces the whole early game, do we? We want to see her on the other side away from us. Now, we are doing the red. Oh, Nidalee shows. Press tab. All right, I see the 12 CS. Okay, double buffs. Wait a second, double buffs? Did she do buff Gromp? There's no way she did red Krugs blue, right? What? Maybe she did the red wolves blue. That also gives level 3. Well, those are the clues she can do. I would hypothesize that most likely she did the red blue Gromp variant because it's Nidalee. Other champions I could see doing them, doing the wolves. As soon as you see this, use your extrapolation. Where the hell did she come from? Why is she only showing a 313? Watch her now. Woo! Where is she going? To me, over here. And I know it's warded. What do I want most importantly? What do I want more than anything in this world against a Nidalee? Space. I have smite. Well, it's not me, but like, we have smite. We are the Zac in this example. Nidalee has smite. And we don't know that it's warded. That is not something we know. But, you know, if she puts a trap down, which she does, and we walk on it, now we damn well know we are seen. Yes? And we know the Nidalee's coming for us. So even if we don't know it's warded, we know we've been seen. And we can see the Nidalee moving up towards us. This is hubris. This is hubris. You're dragging it into brush, that's great, but it's a Nidalee. She's going to hit everything and combo smite you. Done. This is where jungle spacing compromises you. Okay? This is a good jungler, so I'm not saying this is a bad jungler. I'm just saying what makes a good jungler here is exquisite use of jungle spacing. This is not good. If you just said, okay, look, I was seen, I see her going up this way, I'm out. Walk to the wall, ear for the wall, avoid vision. Now you're saying, well, what if my champion can't avoid vision, Virkayu? What if I see the Nidalee come up here, I know she's going to take my red, and I need to walk this way and they see me in the Raptor? Well, they see you then. Every good jungler in the world knows where you're going. You're going up to the top scuttle. But if I track the CS and know that the Nidalee did boom, 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 or boom, 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 I know that these are available. And while you might not necessarily want to give them those higher level camps, if you can mess with her tempo where she has nothing to do, cool, that's great as well. So what I would have done here is immediately, first and foremost, I would have reverse clear. So boof, 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 boof. They see me go up, don't care, didn't ask. Go ahead and take this, see the Nidalee down here potentially. Maybe she cuts across, maybe I can gank this mid lane. And by the way, we could have ganked this mid lane if we just, look at this, you see? You see? There's always opportunities to do stuff. Look at this. You telling me that this is bad just because it's not your original lane that you wanted to gank? Because Nidalee shows here and chucks a spear, I changed my game plan. I don't want to match her. I want to go opposite. I want to be here taking everything, and she has nothing, which means she's forced to come down. But by the time she's forced to come down, I've already been here and cleaned up. That's a mentality we want to have for jungle spacing. Now, the Zac obviously shadows the scenario, sees the Nidalee go for this, and, you know, this is fine. You don't want to results base it too much, but this is not it, right? Because now the Nidalee can easily take this, and what she does is say, look, I don't want to have jungle spacing. I want to get in the Zac's face. She capitalizes on the gank in the mid lane. She's able to double scuttle us, okay? Disregard to her camps because it doesn't matter. We're not taking this one, but she can shadow up here and loop this whole quadrant. Versus if we just gave up the red, saw her go here, she would still think we're on the red, we just leave E over, take this. Now she has to take this. She's got, obviously, this up at that stage. Bottom lane she can gank. I can take this whole quadrant. Now, do you want to give her level 5 camps? No, I don't want to give her level 5 camps, but if I can get this counter jungling done and gank mid lane and gank top lane, and then of course I'm going to have my own level 5 camps because I'm an intelligent jungler, you know, it's better than not getting anything, you know what I mean? Like, you're giving her level 1 camps while you get nothing. And that's the problem, we have the same CS. So in these kinds of environments, I like jungle spacing so that the Nidalee is behind on me, I'm wasting her time, she doesn't know the timers of stuff, she doesn't know exactly where to go, and you're causing this misdirection. So, long story short, when you are playing jungle, if you're an Evelynn and against a Lilia and you see counter jungling moments to handshake and you want to keep that spacing, do it. Because whenever you counter jungle critically, whenever you don't want to be near another jungler, creating that space allows you to operate with freedom without being punished, and you get to get a lot of things that you otherwise couldn't